What is going on, guys? How are we all? Today we have got my club's dream transfer window for this summer. These are my opinions of who I would love us to sign. Some realistic, some not. Some already happened, some haven't. Obviously, we're going to talk about. We've got how much I valued it would be at, and how much I'd value also our outgoings being at, and then our strongest 11 if we were to get these players I wanted. So first of all, we've got our incoming signings, and as you can see, there is 8 players there. One of them is already done, and at the minute of recording this right now, Pau Torres looks set to be done soon. That is advancing very rapidly for a significantly lower fee than his release clause. I did hear Villa were putting in about 30-35 mil for him. Maybe might be a few £1 million more than that, but I would value him at about 35. Harvey Barnes, I think he's massively sought after this summer. I think loads of people would be wanting him. I think 30 mil is a fair price tag for him. I think he's already a Premier League proven winger, young, quick, good finishing, skillful. I don't understand why that's a no-brainer in my opinion. Sorry about that. And then we also have Wan-Bissaka. Now, with Wan-Bissaka, he's a right back for me, but he's very defensively minded, obviously. He's not very good going forward, whereas Cash is. So we would have 2 completely different right backs, which would be nice then for in certain games if you're playing a side that's putting their fullbacks forward and committing forward. Then Cash is very good for that, so you can hit him on the counter. But Wan-Bissaka's good if you're playing up against a team that's, you know, pretty steady, but they've got really good, skillful wingers. 1v1, Wan-Bissaka is one of the best fullbacks in the world at that. One of the best 1v1 defenders out there, I think. He had very good moments this season. He is one that's not unrealistic, like no chance, but he's not realistic either. I think he showed signs this season where he was looking okay. I wouldn't be surprised if nobody went in for him. But I do think 30 mil would definitely be enough to get him away. But I would happily take Wan-Bissaka. I'd be very happy, and I do think he starts in our team. Personally, with the way Unai plays, having his right back staying back to defend, almost then switching into a 3-back. And then next would be Dean Henderson. Well, Dean Henderson for me is a keeper that he's unrealistic, but we need a number 2. We're desperate for a number 2. And Villa are in a situation where the number 2 needs to come in and be good enough to be a number 1 in the Premier League, especially with Europe. And we haven't got that, unfortunately. In Robin Olsen. But then that goalkeeper's got to also be happy to play second fiddle to Emi Martinez, because it's going to take someone unreal to replace him. Dean Henderson, I don't think he's that keeper, but I do think he's sort of the standard that we need to be targeting as a number 2. And for £20 million in today's market, I don't think it's a great amount. I wouldn't be upset if we went and got Dean Henderson in as a number 2, but how many issues would it cause? Because he would be wanting to play first team football, but with Europa League Conference, we could offer him that, and that could be a massive key in it. Next up is Iheanacho. Now, Villa need another striker, and I've been crying out for a striker with European experience. I'm not saying Iheanacho's got it, but he's a good player. He's a good striker. He offers a lot, I feel. I'm not saying he's happy to sit on the bench, but he knows his standard, and he knows that realistically that's probably what he is. He's a second up striker behind Ollie Watkins. So for me, he is that player. Again, another one that I don't think is very realistic, because I think the standard of right back as well that Villa would be targeting would be higher. Well, higher, yes, and abroad, definitely. I think we'll be going somewhere like La Liga for another striker if we bring one in. I think it all depends on Archer and Duran in terms of a striker. You can't spend £20 million on a striker like Duran and then buy another striker and keep Archer. If you're going to keep Archer, then you've got to keep Duran and not sign a striker. So we'll see about that. And then the other unrealistic one is Kieran Tierney. Really, really good left back. Very good, very solid. He's one that I would definitely take, but we've got to get rid of Digne first, in my opinion. But I think he's unreal. Few injuries, yes, but he's very good. Again, would he want to come to Villa and play second fiddle to an Alex Moreno? I don't know. We'd have to wait and see, and wages. But I think that'd be a nice signing. The next one, the last incoming that I'm actually quite interested in. You know, we need a holding midfielder. I couldn't think of any. And I remembered Romeu, when he was at Southampton, was very, very solid. You know, just basic. You know, he can do the basics right, which I like. Other than Romeu, who else is out there that's not going to be too much? You know, Romeu, I reckon we could get him for even less than 5 mil. Solid, not going to demand minutes, not going to be on the biggest amount of wage. I think it's a win-win, really. But again, he's another one that if we offload Dendoncker and Nakamba, then he comes in. And the other CDMs, I mean, you've got like Calvin Phillips, who's probably going to cost you about 40 mil if you want to bring him in. And he's just won the Champions League. Well, the FA Cup, he's won the treble, you know, in an unbelievable City squad. Why I couldn't see him wanting to come to Villa. Drop City. Especially, again, to play second fiddle to Kamara. It's no different to what he's doing, but beyond Rodri and Stones, really, at the minute. But he's winning everything there. So why would you want to do that? In total, in my opinion, that would be 160 mil. In all honesty, Tielemans, Pau Torres, definitely done. Harvey Barnes is the only other, like, I think, realistic and quite odds on to happen, potentially. But again, I think other teams are going to beat us to him. Obviously, you've got the likes of Chiesa that we've been linked with lately, but that's for double the price. So, you know, Dean Henderson and Wan-Bissaka, both, they're not unrealistic, but they're unlikely to happen. But I'd be very happy with it. Yeah, Nacho, I think is a fair shout if we loan out Archer or Duran. Tierney, again, I think it's a fair shout if we lose Duran. Not Duran, sorry, Digne. And Romeu, I think, is just unlikely. I don't even think we'll look at him. But that is my incomings, in my opinion. Try to make them realistic as possible, but also dreamful. And we'll go straight into the outgoings. Right then, so here we are, we've got our outgoings and we've got 9 players that would be my dream to get rid of. We're going to start off with Robin Olsen. I value him about £2 million. I feel bad for Olsen because I feel like he's a keeper that needs confidence, needs a run of games. And we did see it against like Tottenham for a couple of games last season when he had about 3 or 4 run of games against Tottenham. He played very well in New Year. But he's not going to get those run of games at Villa. So he's not good enough. Next up, Courtney House. Got sent back from loan last season. Didn't go well. Not really heard much about him. There's not been much talking about him. He's another one, I think. He's decent centre-half, but he's not at the level that Villa want. He's not a Premier League centre-half. Likewise with Chambers, had a very, very respectable Premier League career. He's a good centre-half. He's played well for Villa when he's had to. But he's not at that top 6, top 7 level anymore. I think he's a centre-half for a Fulham or an, like, you know, those bottom half sides. I think he's a good centre-half for them. But for Villa, if we're going to sign Pau Torres, he's got to go, in my opinion. Next, Digne, injury prone, terrible at defending. Can get forward very well. That's it, and ultimately we need somebody that can defend as a left back. In my opinion, you've got to be able to defend first before you can go forward, and he can't do that, in my opinion. So he's a poor left back. I thought he was decent at Everton, so I was buzzing when we got him, but it's just not worked out at Villa. I would be offloading him, but I think he's another one where you can't sell him until you bring in another left back. So similar to Olsen, you can't sell him until you bring in another keeper. So we'll see. Nakamba, 7.5 mil. Done really well at Luton. They love him. That's where he needs to go, in my opinion. I think that one's pretty nailed on. I think he will be gone this summer. I hope it's to Luton because he done well there, and I like Nakamba. I thought under Gerrard he was the best player in the team until he got injured, and Gerrard didn't give me a chance again for some reason. Who knows? But yeah, that's mine. Next up, Dendoncker, another holding midfielder, 5 mil. Again, I think he's okay. Ideally, out of the two, Nakamba and Dendoncker, I'd rather keep Dendoncker. I think he's got the European experience. He's just not as agile, he's not as sharp as Kamara or Luiz, but he does the job, and he's okay for Europa Conference League. You know, nothing against him. I don't think he's a top 6 player at Villa need. Next, Sansom, 3 mil. It's a shame because he was so hyped. Everybody loved him in France. He was unreal. He's come to the Prem, injury prone. Every other week he's picking up an injury. He can't play a full game without getting injured. For me, that's why he's going. 3 mil, I think, is fair. I think he'll go back to France. Otherwise, he's just seeing his contract out at Villa on the injury table, unfortunately. Next up, Bertrand Traore. Really, it's between him and Leon Bailey. I think Leon Bailey would go for more, but Unai Emery does like Leon Bailey. Much as he also really rates Bertrand Traore. And I think they could all do something in the Conference League, but what can they do in the Premier League? I don't know. I don't think they're good enough. Traore I'd get rid of. 5 mil, again, probably fair. He'll go abroad, do a job over there, do really well. He's a good player. He's very good with his feet. He can run up players really well. I don't think his first touch is up to great levels. I don't think he's good enough. Coutinho, 7.5 mil, was once one of the best players in the world. Was unbelievable at Liverpool. Went to Barca, didn't work out for the fee. He's come to Villa. I thought the couple games he's played under Unai, he was decent, but injuries, high wages. I think he just needs to go to Brazil or somewhere like that. So, that being my outgoings, total of £49 million. I don't think that's terrible. We're going to what our strongest 11 for next season would be, and this is it. My strongest 11 would be Emi Martinez in goal. If we were to sign the players I want, Wan-Bissaka, Pau Torres. Toro means Zach could switch between Konza, Carlos. All 4 of those centre-halves for me I think are very strong. I think Pau Torres is the strongest out of the 4. Alex Moreno, Boubacar Kamara, John McGinn, Douglas Luiz, Harvey Barnes, Watkins, Ramsey. I think Ramsey was playing that position out wide near the end of last season. He'd done it really, really well. And it doesn't necessarily become a 4-3-3. It's more like a 4 in midfield, really, I think. I know in my substitutions it would be Dean Henderson, Carlos, Konza, Cash, Tielemans, Romeu, Bailey, Archer, Duran, or Iheanacho and Duran, something like that. So with the net spend of that, I would be saying £106 million spent minus 49 made off sales. £111 million, I think that's a fair summer. And that's with me trying and bargain a couple like Romeo. I think we could get a lot better. You could get in a Calvin Phillips, but he's not going to come play second fiddle to Kamara. So for me, in my opinion, that is my strongest 11. Guys, this has been my dream transfer for my club. If you've got any disagreements, any other ideas, who would you rather go over the players I've picked, please be sure to comment and let me know down below. I'm very interested to see what your guys' opinions are. Please drop a like, subscribe. We're trying to hit 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 watch hours by the end of the year. £100 Amazon gift card giveaway. We are very close, so please get me there. And I will hope to see you all again soon.